Hi, everyone. This is a meeting of the Wellington ARPA Commission on October 17th, 2022 at 1:30 in the afternoon. The first item is roll call, and I think we just went around and realized everyone is here that's on the commission except for Samantha Hills and Sue Cobb. All right. So we have enough to have a quorum. The next item is approval of minutes, which I don't think we have the July 11th yet.
No, I was hoping they'd be in today. Cousin's task is to finish them and file them before the end of the day.
Okay, all right. But we do have the October 3rd, which I sent out to everyone. Did you all get what I sent? Did everybody have a chance to look at them? Does anyone want to make a motion to accept?
I'll move to accept the minutes of the October 3rd.
Okay. Any second?
Second.
Tom Smith, second. And any discussion about it? Everything. I just want to say thanks, Mike.
No worries, it was a short meeting.
Yeah. Maybe this one will be good. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone abstain? Anyone opposed? All right, so those minutes pass. Correspondence, I don't have any to, that came in on before Friday, at least, to share with you all. Present to speak. Is anyone here present to say anything? Oh, Bill Stevens.
Hi, how are you? Bill Stevens, Superintendent of Schools. So I just want to give you an update. I know we did finally verify you can close our project. That was the AC in the band room.
Okay,
The bills have been paid and we did verify the amount. So you're gonna have some extra there. Just good news for the group. And then we are currently working on, I will say, a minimum of 3 applications. We have lots of ideas, but I just wanted to share the group. We had a community member reach out and talk about students being impacted by the pandemic. And a lot of the funding that has gone forward, whether it's through ARPA or through Board of Ed grants, has been specific to things like, like the tents that we had, or the, some of the gloves, things that are not really directly impact, kids don't feel that impact. And so made a request to me to try and come up with some things that would directly impact students in a positive manner. And so you're going to be getting applications in for 3 items that Brenda's working on. One is in your CIP, it's for the surfacing at center school, the playground surfacing. It is expensive, and it would not do the entire playground, but it would be a portion of it. Part of the work would have to be done by part of my group. Part would have to be done with Troy. Part would have to be done by a landscaper, and then the surfacing. So that's in like $90,000 range. So hold your seats when you get that. It's the rubberized surfacing it's just expensive. It would directly impact them because it would keep the playground open through the winter time and year round. Okay, so that's project 1. Project 2 is we're trying to put some student voice into this request. And it's a small request, probably in the grand scheme of things. It was about $3,000, and it was for recess equipment. Typically that comes out of principal budgets, like their principal line. That would be for $1,500 for each building. And that would be all student driven. Principals would meet with kids. They would figure out what equipment to order. We don't have a specific line in the BOE budget for that. And it's something that they would have real big voice in for what they would have out there, whether it's, and I'm not talking about like swing sets, because that's not in that budget. We're really talking about things like balls, footballs, frisbees, whatever they identify as things, and the principals will help keep them in budget. And then the last item is additional educational opportunities, things that school districts typically can't afford to make connections with outside agencies. Mystic Seaport, the Connecticut Science Center, where students can be involved, whether a small group, large group, activities, assemblies, on-site, off-site, studying the Willimantic River, whatever it may be. And their request will be $10,000 per school. And it would be a balance of things. And again, student voice would be a big part of that. It would be something that aligns to curriculum. But we've looked at a lot of different groups. Nature's Classroom, New England Science and Sailing has some amazing educational opportunities. They'll come to us. We can go to them. But I wanted to give you a heads up that those are coming. I'm not sure what else is on your radar at this point in time, but there are things that I cannot do within my grants. And I say my grants, the Board of Ed grants, things that were put in for the same thing where the tents were put in, things like that, professional development. So you'll have those three coming. There's other ideas that are still out there, snow removal equipment. We are looking at a book vending machine, but those are probably items 4 and 5 at this point out of our priority list. So we figured we share with those. Once you have the applications in, I'll come back and answer any questions, but I wanted to give you a heads up that those were coming.
There's that. How much did you say the last one was?
10,000 per school.
Thank you.
Yeah, typical, just for background information, a typical assembly, a 1 to 2 hour assembly, and then people are charging $1,500 to $2,000 for assemblies. It is super expensive. So typically we can afford one of those. This would be, we would be able to do an assembly and then follow up in small groups, which is really, really powerful. And you'll see, I'll bring you some of the examples that we have when I, do the formal presentation, but just wanted to give you a heads up that those are out there.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Online? No? Okay.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
Can I make a motion to add item D2, closing of ARPA 7? I don't know if you need to review anything, but if you want to discuss it,
Yeah, to
possibly close that.
yeah, to the closed section. Indeed, yeah, sure. Any second on that? Sure, second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we'll talk about that when we get there. What do we got? Oh, so next is the receive and hear the new submission. So as of Friday, when I sent this agenda in, we had 2 new requests. One it's called ARPA 40. It's for miscellaneous library structure improvement projects for $81,260. And ARPA 41, which is a stove for the senior center for $6,000. So, so the first thing I think we should do is just officially receive them, and then we can, I see Deb is here, and I know Jenny and Ed are here, so I think maybe we can also hear them, but maybe just receive them officially, and then we'll move on to hearing them.
I'll make a motion to receive ARPA 40 and ARPA 41.
For a second,
Second.
okay. Any discussion about that? All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Okay, so they have been received. So now I think we can take the first one, ARPA 40, and see if, Deb, are you prepared to talk about this request?
Yes,
Okay, and just so you know, everybody did receive the submission that you wrote, and I have read them. So there's a little bit of an understanding of what you're asking for before you even start, so.
great. In all fairness, I didn't physically write and submit it. Our chair of the library board, Carrie Ann Caldwell, did. Of course, Hope and I had great input with it, as well as the board. One, I have to say, we're really excited to have heard that the ARPA application process for the project funding is now reopened. At the time that we had put our first application in, we had only received quotes for a few things, knowing even then at that time there were so many more needs that needed to be met, but we didn't have any quotes, as I said, to to go along with putting in the application for them. So now that it's reopened, we actually did get those quotes like a few days later. So now that it's reopened, it's kind of nice. We're really grateful and excited to be able to submit a second application. And they are things that we believe do fall under what's necessary to receive the ARPA funds. And pretty much, and you have this in front of you. So we'll just kind of go over it quickly. And if you have any questions, please ask. I mean, we even have more things than this that we could use and get more money for, but we won't get too greedy. As you all know, or those who don't know, the building is 16 years old and it's going through regular wear and tear. And there are things that do need to get done to bring it up to par so that is presentable for the public to both use and enjoy. There were a couple of things that are safety issues. One is the first item was the replacement of the gutters, not the downspouts, just the gutters in the front of our building where you enter in. And it's been an issue that's been there since the beginning of time. But now that we have the opportunity to do something about it, we would like to. In the wintertime, because of the way the roof is designed, it catches water and it's more water comes down than what the gutter can actually hold. It's not big enough. And what happens is that it freezes and it overflows. There are long, huge icicles that could impale you probably, without an exaggeration, going in and out. So we're constantly out there whacking them down and whatever, but because they built up, it's something that's continual, not to mention when it does melt and refreeze on the surface, the walking area, the pavers themselves become ice over and over again. So we're constantly out there having to put down not salt because we can't use it on the pavers, but we do have special product that does melt it. But it's something, again, it melts, it freezes, go out, put it over, melts, freezes, so we're always doing that. So that was an issue that we'd like to address and take care of so that that problem no longer exists. And in doing that, it would be getting a larger a gutter and having that installed. Also, there's a heating unit of sorts up there as well that probably may need to get replaced as well. Either it's not big enough, so it doesn't do its job well. We haven't had anybody up there to see if actually it's still working or in working order. So that's something that we need to address. So all in all together, when talking to the person who gave us a quote, it was estimated at $21,000 to take care of that. Also outside and inside the building too, we need to install security cameras. We have purchased them. They are good ones, and they will do the job that's required of them once they're up. They do have lights, and it again is for safety. We do have the pavilion set up now with the picnic table. It would be something that would shine on that area. Also, the entryway in and out of the parking lot itself to the library, entryway, people coming in and out, which is important given the times that we live in. So and then we do have areas, a few areas inside of the building as well that we would like to put them in. Our community room, we have in our bookstore. There are certain areas in the children's area. So we're looking for, again, security cameras for inside and outside of the library so that we can monitor what's going on, especially in the evening when we're closed on weekends. Would be important. So that would be, again, it's just the labor part. We do have the cameras. We're figuring $2,000 for what our past electrician charges per hour and what we think might be the time that would be needed. So that was where the 2,000 came from. Something that never was addressed and something we learned when taking on the directorship was on the side of the building, there is a parking lot and there is a very dangerous drop. And by right legally, we were told that that should have had a berm, which is just something that protects people from going over the edge pretty much. And it could be even with their own snow plows, you know, not estimating right where it ends, the parking lot. It could be, you know, kids do come and mess around in the parking lot, do swerves. And, you know, if there were a skid or, you know, the conditions were icy, there's a potential for an accident, a very serious accident that could happen there. And not to mention deter other people. We do have like a story walk on the side of the building. Sometimes we have things that we do programs outside. So it's a safety measure. And again, it's something that we were told legally we should have had done from the very beginning. Why, I don't know, but there were different things we thought of doing. The least expensive would be getting large boulders. And there's a company in town who has always been very generous with the library that would be willing to give us the boulders. They would deliver them free of charge. We would just need to have someone come and put them in the places that they would need to go. Again, we were able to get a quote, and to do that, get the equipment here, have the manpower to do it, it would be the $3,400. And then there is under infrastructure, again, the building is 16 years old. Many things haven't gotten done before, but need now to be done. One would be the painting. And actually there is preparation because of just the wear and tear with the outside weather conditions, where the windows and frames and doors, things would need to get prepared before painting, and that they would need to get painted after they were prepped. And that is now where the cost comes in, it's more expensive because around 3 sides of the building, you're talking 2-3 stories high. So it involves getting scaffoldings out to be able to get at the windows to do this work. So that's why, you know, when people will see the figure $51,000 might be alarmed and say, what, you know, but that's the story behind that. It's just higher, and to get at them, it's not that you can walk out there and just do these sorts of things. So those things all together total $81,250. So we're just asking and hoping that we'll be able to get some help. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
I did.
Yeah.
So the first item under safety, so you have a quote of 21,000, but then say it's only the front gutters. You're asking for replacement gutters, downspouts, and heat tape, but your quote doesn't include any of those things.
Well, when originally looked at, we have a problem with still water coming into the building. And at the time when this was spoken about, that wasn't the issue. This was just the safety as far as with the ice forming in the entryway. What we're hoping will happen is that we're trying to figure out where the water's coming from. It was suggested by one of our townspeople that we should check out the gutters. The downspouts, excuse me. The downspouts themselves are big enough to hold it, but we're checking into seeing if somehow they got clogged. There's some kind of blockage or whatever that may look like. I don't know if it would be leaves, or I don't know if there's a leaf catcher up there. Again, we've never looked up there or had anyone up there to tell us, but right now it would be just for the gutters and the heating unit, if it was something that needed to be done. As far as the downspouts, they're in fine shape. Those aren't going to be replaced. There will be money that will need to be spent to see if there's an issue with them being clogged, which might be why we're having issues with water inside the building. But
That's my question. Does this not include anything except the replacement of the gutters? I just, and my follow-up is, were there any like contingencies built into any of these costs? In the event right, I'm hearing that you need to look to see if they need to be, these things need to be replaced first. So you're
Well, the
still,
gutters,
you know,
gutters definitely have to be replaced. That's the number issue where it's not able to hold the amount of water that it takes in. That has to be done. So as far as the issue with the heater melting the snow, oh gosh, let me see. I don't think that's included because we,
so I just want to make sure that if we move forward with this project and when it gets to public hearing portion, that everything that they want to do is included in the scope and the cost. And I think that's really important because we could approve it and then they couldn't have, they may not have enough funds. And so I think there's still a couple missing there.
thank you.
And then the cameras, you said, all you're looking for is someone to come in and, do electrical wiring? Is that all this is for?
Yes, that and possibly, that's just it, maybe not, possibly. And what do I want to think of my mind is, yeah, this would be just for the gutters. It wouldn't include any kind of electrical work if that was needed. And what was the second thing? Yeah, it would not include the heating. Oh, she has got down here, it does include replacement of gutters and downspouts at the front, including heat tape. No, that's, I'm sorry.
This board can, you can get us some clear answers on that.
Yeah,
And
no,
then the
I
berm,
get back to you on that because that isn't, I got the quote in front of me and it's just replacing the gutters that okay, no, I know what happened. And this is where I'm sorry, because I didn't do it. I'm going to say it does include because the actual quote for replacing the gutters only is $19,278. So I'm going to guess that our chair must have added in the extra for, because she does have including heat tape. So yes, then there shouldn't be an extra cost.
in this discussion of a berm, so the legal aspect, I'm not sure where that came from, but I think if somebody's giving you a legal opinion on that, then we should probably know that, right?
Yeah.
And then, Troy, do you think that's something that needs engineering? We just put in a berm?
Well, no, because Deb said something with rocks, but the problem is, well, all the snow goes down that way. So then we're gonna still, if we push the snow against the rocks, and then we have even more. So it's not, I wouldn't recommend doing something there. We haven't had a problem there. You know, I mean, has anybody gone off the edge there, or is,
What's on the other side of the edge?
just woods?
I think.
Wow. There's actually a steep drop. Unfortunately, when the CIP was out, we didn't get a chance to check that outside. You would, maybe some of you would understand what I'm speaking about. It's a steep drop right now. Over the last 16 years, there are bushes and things that are growing in certain areas that would certainly stop a fall, perhaps, or help to stop a fall. Even where the milling ends at the parking lot, and where there is grass, there's a good distance that the plows won't go there. They wouldn't need to or have to go there, that you could still put the boulders beyond that. It should not interfere with snow plowing at all.
Deb, was this something, are you saying that this was something that was supposed to be done in the original plans for the library?
That's what we were told.
Okay,
And they asked why wasn't it? And I was around then, but I wasn't involved in it.
do you still have the original plans, or are they in the town? I'm just wondering if, like,
Where is that? Either somebody
Yeah.
didn't do it or just wasn't in the plan. It's something someone now thinks that should be done.
yeah,
Which
or
is
maybe
fine,
there
I'm
was
just
a
curious.
reason why it was decided not to do it, or that it wasn't needed because of some technical thing. And so maybe that's why, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess for me to, the telling us that it's legally we have to do it, right? That's very different than something to do. And I think it's important that we have that information. So we, if it's something that we have absolutely have to require it, it's following some kind of code or something, that we're following those procedures. So I just, if you have that, if you could share that, I think that'd be very helpful.
Can I ask a question? Can you tell me who would be the people that I would go to see if that legally does have to get done?
You said legally it has to be done, that's why I
That's what
asked.
we were told. We were told that that should, legally, that should have been done. That's a safety. That's
So where did that, can you tell me where that came from?
the, I don't know if I can or not. It was when we were talking about putting the boulders there to protect the lights and whatever, I had reached out to the Becker Company here in town. And that's when we were told they were a part of all this at that time. And they were the ones that had mentioned that that should have been done. So being they were a part of it, I didn't question it.
So I just want to make sure it wasn't, didn't come from an attorney or someone. that
Oh,
was-
no.
Or a private company that told you legally we have to put that there.
They say legally that, yeah, that there should have been a berm put there.
But the library was given the CO, right? So,
Yes.
so somebody at some point thought that it was okay to give the CO to the building, even though it wasn't there. And that probably happens with several things. It just does. But, and sometimes there's really good reasons, but I don't know. I just don't know the history. None of us were around then.
You have those plans here in the building, Mike?
Well, I don't know how I can find out. I know it has happened, like even with the milling never should have been put down, but it got put down. So things happen or things, I know things change in time where once upon a time, you didn't have to have something, but given the times and how things have changed, now they do require things. So who would we, my question would be, can you suggest, do you know who we would turn to ask that question, find that out? Does the town, I need help here.
Let's start with land use.
Yeah, start with land use and see just if there's any notes about it. And maybe in the application for the permit, it should be in there. Something either about why it wasn't done or just, I don't know.
If it was required, Mike, if this was something that was required, that would have been in that process and in those discussions.
Yeah, it would be on the
Deb,
site.
I would
plan.
start with reaching out to the land, coming in and making a visit to the land use department and seeing what you can find on the records there. And although they may be available online, I believe they are available.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
So,
Yeah.
We will do that. We'll definitely do that. But another question in regards to that, even if it isn't okay, and then excuse my words for using it because that's what I was told, would it be something that we could still do for safety reasons?
Yeah, and so I think like if it needs to be done, then, and it's not on the original site plan, there isn't actually a plan to do this project that's already done, then I think you need to do engineering to figure out
To figure
where
out.
it should go, what the right thing is to do there, all of that. So that's just another expense too, but to the whole project. But maybe it's already been done, the engineering part, at least.
All right, thank you. We'll look into that.
one last one. So it's a relatively small amount, but you're asking to enclose the HVAC units to prevent vandalism and natural damage. Have they been damaged to this point?
Oh, we've been very fortunate. We've been told by the HVAC people that we're surprised that it hasn't been. And I think the saving grace in that is that it is behind the building and people don't realize and know that it is there. Again, it gets the elements of the, the weather and it has never been cleaned and it's moldy and the protections for the piping is all long been gone and it's full of moss. And there are other reasons I don't want to say publicly because I don't want to be opened up for having it get vandalized. But yeah, it's something that, again, the HVAC people said it definitely would help in the running of it to be more efficient. Also to even get at it would be better, and also vandalism.
What, can you tell me what kind of enclosure was recommended to you? And I asked this, Deb, because we just had some replaced at the senior center that were underneath the deck, and they actually, that was enough cover that was making them work a whole lot harder and caused to their early demise. So I'm curious what kind of enclosure, because now the new ones at the senior center are exposed, all the ones here at the TOB are exposed. I'm curious what they recommended to you.
They have here in the quote, the HVAC people that we did the company recommended putting a simple chain link fence enclosure at the pad mounted to HVAC equipment in the back of the building and with an overhang.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. Stu Fisher, how do you do? Is it Deb?
Yeah, yeah.
Hi Deb, I'm trying to picture the building and the height of the gutters. Are they way up high, the gutters?
No, matter of fact, we only have gutters in the front of the building and it's just from the overhang down, maybe
10, 15, yeah.
15 feet, maybe. Taller than a person, obviously, but no more than 20 feet. And there's just,
So I have gutters too, and if I don't clean them, I get overflow as well. Who cleans your gutters?
they've never been cleaned.
Okay.
I'm trying to start from there.
Yeah, yeah.
And the same around the HVAC system, it sounds like you're describing some maintenance needs to be done around it and kept up with that too. I'm not saying these things aren't needed and we may get there, but maybe things in the meantime to start with just some basic maintenance around those items.
And the important thing we learned even with the CIP, when the committee came through an evening a few weeks ago, it was brought up that unfortunately things haven't been maintained, but once they are maintained, then, you know, we need to, and we will keep them up so that, you know, the end result isn't as bad. You're right. If this had been taken care of, it wouldn't be to the degree that is right now, but it is to this degree. So moving forward, you know, if we can get it taken care of to be where it's supposed to be, then we can upkeep, you know, keep with the upkeep of it. So it doesn't get that way again.
I would be surprised that the windows aren't vinyl. I don't know any building that's doesn't have vinyl maintenance-free windows. Are they wood windows? Why are they peeling? Yeah, I wonder.
They were really high, so even on our tour, we couldn't. I mean, they're pretty high.
It's the sun that gets added. It's, you know, a beating on it, or in some cases the shade where mildew's gotten onto them. It's eaten away at the.
Could be a manufacturer issue. as
But
well.
are they vinyl, to Stuart's point, Debbie, are they vinyl? Or are they wood? Is it wood trim you're talking about out there? What is?
Yes. It is wood.
That's a full car.
Yeah, maybe we should change the vinyl. I don't know.
That's probably a bigger one.
All right. Any other questions from the Tom?
Not to belabor the point. Hi Deb, Tom Smith here.
Hello.
Going back to the boulders. If this is something you guys have identified that you think would be nice or safety or thing. Didn't you say the contractor or Becker's or whoever it was going to donate the boulders?
Correct.
So why not just have them bring the boulders and put them there wherever your board or whoever wants them to go and be done with it?
That's separate equipment. I know I'd asked the town even to do that for us. And it's something too, we could certainly try to ask. It's something Becker doesn't do. There are places like Hipskis and Sadow's and even Knights maybe, you know, certainly we've thought of asking them to see if they would donate their time to have it done. So that's a thought, but again.
Anybody, you can put boulders you don't need any special, you know, even if you guys just want them, forget landscaping wise, you can put boulders, right? I mean, if you want. So you think you need extra money to place them? Is that what I'm?
Yeah, once we have the boulders, Becker's will drop them off. I'm in a pile. And it's from there where we would want them to be put or need them to be put, that would need to be moved, which it takes, what, like a backhoe or something, I would imagine.
Thanks. Yeah,
And the manpower, someone to do it. Which
Thank you.
could be, a good part of a day. At least that's what we're being told to plan on.
Do you know how many boulders you're talking about?
No, it would be, we'd have to measure in the back and see how far apart we would want them put. And then go from there. We had thought also on the side of the parking lot, instead of doing bollards for protecting the light poles that have come down there and that are there, that we could put them in front. Again, we had spoken to the town and there is an issue with the snow plowing, how it's done. But thinking that maybe if we were to put something in front or around them, that you could still plow and not lose a lot of your parking spaces in a case like that. We're just trying to, in that case, with those boulders.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem that hard of a job to get
And that's
done.
why it's not very expensive. And if we get even less expensive, it would be nice. But there's a point like, do we have to have them? It would be nice to have them even if we don't have to, but to start with first, if we should have, then we should.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? No? Okay, do we want to send, I don't know that we want to move to public hearing because you had some questions, we want some more information. So,
I mean, it sounds like it's especially the gutter system, right? I know we talked about it at CIP, Deb, and you touched on, having them looked at. So were you going to do that? Because if that's not in the cost of this, that would be some additional funds. I think you should find out, have the gutters cleaned out of your maintenance and maybe have that work done.
and
And then
camera.
see if it's necessary. To Stuart's point, maybe the new gutters aren't needed.
Oh, no, they're needed.
I don't know, well, but if they're,
I guess
it's
I'm
clogged,
probably doesn't have to
maybe-
go with another.
I don't know that we've heard this problem since the day the library opened, which means at some point, it was enough to take the water, right?
Yeah,
You gotta
yeah, was
clean it
this
up.
happening
Yeah.
in the very beginning, like the
Oh, yeah.
first few years? Like the first
Yeah.
winter?
I've been here since the beginning and yep,
Okay. But what if, this,
I mean, you told us it hasn't been done. I think that is where you start first.
yeah.
I would love to see this all stay, right? So if the money, if we get to the point where it's something we move forward with it and then it's, potentially earmarked, but I get some of those answers first before we can start replacing things that may be able to be rectified to some extent with some maintenance.
can I ask how much time you would give us to be able to get this done in that way? I want to lose this window of opportunity. So I'm
Yeah,
just
so-
like, what are your plans as far as like, when would we have to do this by so that it could get included or going forward, get taken care of?
Well, we meet every 2 weeks, right? So in 2 weeks from now, we'll have a chance to talk about it again. And then another 2 weeks after that, we will too. But I just saw, as we're meeting right now, 2 more requests just came in. And I don't know if if Phil just put in the ones he was talking about, or if there's something else. I haven't been able to look at them, but there's more requests that are being made. So
Is there a cutoff date yet for requests?
no, we didn't do a cutoff date because we need to use all the money. So we didn't want to say a cutoff date if we didn't get requests that were more than how much money we have. So,
And as people do their jobs or get their projects done, I would imagine there could be leftover money like there has been.
and there will be, that's gonna happen too. There might be some that cost more than anticipated though, as well. The flip side could happen. So we're still like very much in the middle of this entire process, but just this process of reopening, we're still at the very beginning. So I don't want to say like, oh, you have a month or you have, but I think the sooner the better, because we're just going to get more requests in the next couple of weeks, I think. So,
Will do.
and projects that are just like ready to go with good firm prices, with even vendors that are able and ready to do it, I think those are probably gonna get priority because they're, what's the word? Shovel ready, turnkey, whatever you wanna say, but versus like, oh, maybe this is needed. We can't approve money for things that maybe aren't even needed, so. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
so then we'll hopefully see you in a couple weeks. All right, so moving on to what's the next one, ARPA 41, which is the stove at the senior center for $6,000. And Jenny, I know you made the request on behalf of the senior center,
Yes, that's correct.
but I know Ed's here.
Ed is here.
And Ed
He's
knows all
he's
about
done
the
all
stuff.
the legwork.
Okay,
Okay. The stove at the senior center is strictly a gas stove. It doesn't have pilot list ignition, so there's pilots there. Which means if the pilots aren't lit or if they get blown out, all of a sudden you got gas coming in. We're talking about seniors here. The seniors are the ones who use it. They do breakfasts for the town. They have banquets periodically. They've had spaghetti suppers in the past, things like that. The stove is, I think it's, I can't hold to it, but I know it's an old stove, and I think we got it used anyways. And it's about, we've been there for what, 15 years? The problem is that we have with it is, in order to light the pilot in the oven, you've got to get down on the ground, on the floor, you're laying on your side, and you got to stick a thing in there to light the pilot. And believe it or not, that's not as bad, except for when you have to get up. And when you get to be my age, it gets tougher to get up every time. The big safety problem that I have is it's got a griddle, and we use the griddle for the breakfast. That's how we make the omelets and things like that. In order to light that griddle, the pilot is almost a foot inside the stove, and you can't see it when you're we have to get these long matches to use in order, because you can't even get an igniter in there. But so we have to get these long matches, and you gotta light it, and you gotta get it in there with the gas running this whole time, because you gotta get the gas out of the line in order to get the pilot lit. So if you don't get that pilot lit right away, and all of a sudden that match goes in there, you know what I'm talking about. It's called a blowback.
Mhm.
And it'll singe the hair off your arms, it'll take your eyebrows off, and a number of things. Needless to say, I think this is a safety issue.
Mhm.
The stove is old, it's outdated. So I started thinking when this came around, and I talked with Jenny, and I said, well, what if we got something that was more efficient? It had pilotless ignition, maybe get rid of the gas oven and go to an electric oven, because a lot of them are doing that way, but we want to make sure we keep this as a commercial stove with 4 burners and a griddle, so we can continue to do what we're doing now. So I started looking around, and I found out that the majority of the commercial stoves are not made in the United States. The Viking stoves and all those that we see, they're not really made in the United States. They're made in every country but the United States. But anyways, I started checking around, and I came up with this. There's an Italian stove it's called ILVE. I checked it, it's very well known. And there is a dealer in Connecticut who does service on them. And I was looking at the specs, and the specs came up exactly to match what we have there and get rid of the gas oven, but keep the gas burners. Now, the plus of the thing is when they're cooking, making these breakfasts, doing the hash browns and the sausage and stuff, they use the oven. This new one has a convection oven, and it's got a precise measurement on it, so there's no guesswork. And that means it's going to cook faster. It's going to use less electricity. Probably, I don't know if it'll use less gas. We're probably going to use less gas because we're not running the gas freebie, just trying to get the thing lit. It's got a bunch of other features to it. And with a 7-year warranty service contract, it came out to under $4,800, which I thought was a pretty good price. We put extra money in there because it has an electric oven. It's gonna require a 240 outlet in the back to run the oven. And there's no, I don't think there's an outlet back there, which means we'd have to get an electrician in to run a wire downstairs into the panel. And I checked and there's enough room in the panel to put another breaker in. The other thought is if we're gonna do that, while the electrician's there, we might want to have him look at the lines that are coming out of the kitchen, going downstairs, that are constantly blowing breakers. And maybe we can get rid of two problems with one project.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're gonna have an electrician in there, now's the time to have them look at both, installing and fixing a problem. So that's why we put it for the 6,000. I think we have to get an electrician in here to fine tune the amount that's gonna be needed for the installation and fixing that problem. And that's not in here. There just wasn't enough time to get it together. But that's why we came up with a 6,000 overall. It could be a little less.
Okay.
Okay, but the specs are all here. I have a write-up on the company. They're in Stamford and Monroe. And 800 numbers. They're authorized dealers for the product. We printed up all the specs. I mean, this thing's got specs you can, the stove is actually handmade. It's a handmade stove, and the price includes free delivery. Okay. The other thing that will come out of this is maybe the old stove we can sell.
That's gonna be my one question.
If we sell
Think it
the
has
old
any value?
stove, we may be able to recoup something, or we might even, if we run over with fixing the electrical problem, this might aid us in fixing the electrical problem.
Well, I'm looking down the table to Donna. If they sell the old stove, do the funds have to go into the general fund, or can it offset the project?
I think you could offset the project.
Would that company take it as like a trade?
What's that?
Would that company take it as like a trade, like buy it or like,
No, because we're not buying it from the company that's doing the service.
okay,
We actually got a better deal by going through Appliance Connection, which is a nationwide wholesale house. And they would box it up and drop ship it to us.
We can at least maybe start there if they have,
But-
if
but
they'd
we-
offer
we-
something for the other one
Well-
in their business, maybe. It's
Well,
at
we
least a
can
start, but yeah.
get hold of somebody like Halleck, places in Connecticut that sell old
Yeah.
commercial equipment and see how much they'll give us for it. I mean, there's a lot of different ways we can go about getting rid of the old one. We could even put it on the internet and see if anybody's interested, but I think we'd be better off selling it through a commercial dealer.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think this is a great project. I know we typically tend to, overall, not just this commission, look down at things that don't need to be replaced. And it works fine, but it doesn't work efficiently. It is certainly a safety hazard. If you've been into the senior center with some of the folks that are volunteering and doing the work in there, it's concerning. To me, it's concerning to them, but I think, we probably took the least expensive route when we put it in. And then that's where it lands us now. So if we can get some money back for the stove that's there, I think this is a really strong project that would benefit greatly. I worry about,
The safety issue.
I know sometimes I can't get down on what I've been down something at my age. So, I mean, it's difficult, but the safety aspect of having to light those pilots every single time
Right.
is
Right.
significant. So I'd rather see us spend a little bit more money to make sure.
We've
it
been
can last.
fortunate up to this point.
Yeah.
That somebody hasn't been injured, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
But everybody there isn't willing to light that stove, correct?
No.
Like if if we were in there, I might say to you, I'm not comfortable doing that. I just, it's a little bit more intricate. So I think the new stove would give a greater use to everybody there. So
Agreed.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I agree. It sounds like a great project. There will be some install charges for the stove. If you're drop shipping it, it's just gonna show up in a box. So someone needs to hook up the gas and the electric and all
Well,
that.
this included the gas
Okay.
company hooking up the gas and,
All right. The other piece is when you get the commercial grade stoves, you need commercial grade venting systems. I haven't seen the senior center.
we have a hood.
We have a nice hood.
We have a hood with a power vent and it's got a fire suppression system built in.
It's all based on BTUs and
Right, and we're putting the same size, physical size burners in, so it's gonna fit in place. In other words, we don't have to upgrade the hood or anything. Everything there is gonna be the same.
and who makes that determination? Is that a building code
It's a
that would,
built-in,
that would determine whether or not the hood needed to be different based on the new stove we have?
it's the same BTUs.
Okay, I just want to make sure, like, if somebody needed to sign off on that, we have them take a look at it.
Right.
So that in case there was something else needed.
Yeah, we
take
can
a
get the
look.
fire marshal to
Yeah.
take a look at it.
That just another check to say,
I agree.
it definitely doesn't need this, and then we can confidently say that the money that you've
Well,
allocated should be enough.
Yeah, at the time the hood was put in, I believe it was put in specifically for that size stove with that BTU rating. And basically what they look for is not, I mean, the oven has something to do with it because the oven is gas. But I think with the oven going to electric, it would lower the requirements on the hood because the only thing the hood would be there for now would be for the burner tops.
That sounds logical to me, but I think codes change that don't always make sense.
Yeah.
To us, so maybe just have them double check so that you know you won't need anything else, and if you do, you could potentially amend
Yeah.
the request.
Someone should look at it.
I'm surprised the insurance companies haven't come to us before now. Yeah, I know. I shouldn't say this, but based upon who's using it and where it is.
So do we want to vote on moving it to public hearing or?
Actually, I have one other question. What's the lead time on this new stove? Do you know when you would be able to get it? The old one?
Well, we have breakfasts every other month. We put off breakfasts before, I mean, during COVID, we put them off for a year. I mean, we could take and close down the breakfasts until we get the new stove in. I think that as soon as we can get it and get started on the project and get it replaced, the better we're gonna be.
Okay,
So does the tracker you have, to your question about this, the tracker includes these two submissions, right?
yes, yeah,
And so this shows 31,000 available if everything on here used exactly what we
Yes.
expect.
Yeah.
And we know that Phil just sat here and talked to us about some significant dollar amounts that are well over 30,000.
yeah,
So we know we're gonna get those. I don't know if those are the two that just came in or if there are others. I think maybe we should give ourselves a time frame because we now know when Phil's done with his, we are over the amount of money we have. So
Right.
we're gonna have to say no to someone that's on the table now.
yeah,
That maybe we, as a committee, put a stop date on submissions. And then we can regroup and send everything that we want to send to a public hearing at the same time.
mhm. Good idea.
Because when we put it out, we didn't, kind of discuss time frame. We knew there wasn't a significant amount of money, but we had no idea who still out there was going to submit something. Then it just puts all those projects kind of at a level
Yeah, a lot of things.
playing field and can have conversations then, and then just, pick a time to cut it off.
Just to be helpful, hopefully and not critical, drop shipped items have been, for me in my facility management past, can be a real problem if you don't define a lift gate, set in place, because the union driver is going to show up and say, here it is, come get it.
Well,
So just FYI.
yeah, you're familiar with Connecticut Appliance? I mean, he's local. Steve Ackerman.
So they're delivering.
He's done a lot of work here. I was gonna approach him and see what his price would be if he would come out and do the installation for
We
us.
should do that. Have someone do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But even getting it in the building,
I think those are great
you'd be
points.
surprised.
Mhm.
A truck driver shows up and goes, there it is. I'm not touching it. I'm not lifting it.
Or you need, I mean, I think Troy can speak to, you need
well,
certain things. You
I've
don't
used,
just leave them.
I've used
You have to
Mr.
provide.
Ackerman before
Or
to,
send-
and I've had appliances drop shipped to my house and I've had him put them in. And he's very good at it. I mean, he doesn't have a
Okay,
problem.
just FYI.
I know,
Mhm.
Wonder if- something to ask before,
right.
I think he's trying to help you avoid the pain.
or you'll
he's
be
had
calling
before.
Corey saying.
I understand that.
I've been there.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Okay, so, thank you.
And I'm gonna leave the specs here, so if anybody wants to look at them, they can look at them. And the information on the warranty, the people that do the warranty work is here as well.
This is under 5,000, so it wouldn't have to go up to bid, so I think it's okay to share the specs with the vendor. Were those uploaded with the project?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, yeah, so we've got you on the list and
Okay,
I think we're good.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ed.
Think so.
And just so you guys know, I just looked at what there's actually 3 submissions that came in, and they are all from Phil, one for 90,000, one for 20, and another one for 20. So yes, we're now over. So, so we will see. What is next on the agenda? What is my agenda?
So when would our first meeting in November be?
Yes.
Would it be
November
this-
7th.
What would it be?
November 7th.
It's like, yep, the 7th and the 21st.
So if we set a close date, I mean, so that we could have everything, when we usually get the agenda for
The
Friday,
4th, November 4th.
should be Friday,
Yeah, so the close date would be the 3rd.
set it by the 3rd or even the 1st. I mean, it's just, that's like 2 to 3 weeks from now, gives us time to then add it to the agenda to review it in November.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Because
think
I
that's a
think
good
with
idea.
so many potential projects and so little dollar amounts,
Mhm.
maybe by then we could figure out if there's gonna be any money coming back from the other projects,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
savings.
Yep. How do you guys, how do you guys feel about that? November 1st? That's a good, solid deadline. Say.
Was it our last meeting we opened it up again?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just about a month.
So,
Month, I mean, most people know they have a.
okay. All right, well, we'll get that notice out too. Where, does everybody have the agenda? I don't have it. I can't find it. Because I think that what's next is just a
All the
review of everything that's been
Right.
done. Yep. Okay, yeah, the unfinished business. So we don't really have to talk about any of these. If you see anything on here that you know isn't true or has more information to add, but otherwise, this is the latest and greatest that I've heard from people about what's going on all these different projects.
I can give you an update on the business the CDC.
Yes,
So the contracts were all sent out to the folks that met the criteria. So we'll work now with Erica to get those contracts countersigned by the town. And then once their agreements are signed by both the town and the recipient organization, we can move forward with the actually cutting of the checks.
Mhm. Okay. And were there many that were not, or you were not able to fund?
I think there were a total of 4 that either for one reason or another could not, either didn't meet the criteria. I think 2 didn't meet the criteria, 2 didn't demonstrate. 2 didn't meet the eligibility standards, and 2 others, something related to the actual application. So I think there's a total of 17 that will be funded.
Okay.
But they they did not all request funding the full amount. So it's not a simple 17 times 10 or whatever it was.
Mhm.
So we're working on finalizing the agreements.
Okay, so, and you don't have a number for us though,
I can get it.
an estimate?
I don't have it immediately. I don't want to scroll.
You think it's,
How many total contracts did you send over to me?
I think there were 17 total, but because they all requested
Right.
specific amounts, I don't know what it would.
And they're not all, 15 was your max, right?
Right, so, yeah, it's gonna be under 250.
Under 255, I think. So 255 is the max, and I
So
know
there
I
should
a couple
be-
I saw were under.
There should be at least 50,000, probably, I think the discussion was closer to 75,000 or 80 that would come back,
okay.
but it'll be a little while before we can get those
Mhm.
actual.
I have all the, Mike sent electronic copies of all of the contracts, and we're just waiting for the originals to come in so that we can work on countersigning and get the documentation that Donna's office will need. So
John
I'll go
thinks
through
it's
this afternoon and get
Okay.
you a total amount for those contracts.
between
Okay.
215 and 220 is what was requested. So that's, so there should be a somewhat
One of those.
significant.
Okay, well, and just so you guys know, I just added in those three that just came in. And so if we were to fund everything that, so far, we were in a deficit of $98,000. But I'm hearing we could have another 80 coming back in. So we would be in a deficit of 18,000, and I think that there might be 18 that we can scrounge up from the other projects as well, but there's more coming in too, more requests coming in, so probably. So we'll see. We're getting there though, we're getting somewhere. So, so thanks, Mike. Any other updates on any of these things that are in here?
The agreement was signed for the survey work. I'm sure Alan told you, and it's been sent to Carl.
Mhm.
I spoke with Carl and it's in the works.
Okay,
It's a very busy time. He said we should have something in the next 2 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks.
okay,
Best I could get done.
great. Okay. Updates on previously heard requests, which is just to repair the library building structure, and I don't have any update, and Deb's not on anymore, so I don't think there is anything there to say there. And then updates on request heard at public hearing. There's nothing new there.
Can I update on those? So are we at B, right?
We were at B.
So I can talk about.
Now we're at C.
See, so I can speak to ARPA 32 and then I'll just touch on 36. So the Board of Selectmen, I started a conversation with them about kind of rethinking how we could recognize staff and the work they did without retention bonuses, so that a discussion of staff performance doesn't become a town issue. So I certainly have some concerns about the work of the staff going to town meeting. And I know I spoke to that before. And so what I did was had some conversations, a lot wrapped around the fact that we got a request out of Mansfield to contribute to a bonus program they were doing for public school staff at the Mansfield level and Region 19, and specifically asking us to contribute to the Region 19 portion. And the Board of Selectmen were not comfortable putting forward a program that recognized Region 19 without talking about our own school staff. So having discussions with the superintendent about that, we basically felt that it was, we could find better ways to honor our staff and give back to our staff and show some appreciation to staff in a multitude of ways without that and potentially a savings over the retention program. I fully support what I put forward, but I have big concerns about staff performance becoming a talking point in a town meeting and the blowback that could have between our residents and the staff that serve them. And that's not the intention of this committee, and I don't think that was the intention of the discussion overall, but understanding where the concern lied with this committee. So we're talking at the Board of Selectmen about different things we could propose and then come back to this committee with other things, whether it be some sort of event, whether it be some sort of incentives, and, you know, just some ways to give back to the staff instead of in a cash bonus situation. And so we'll be discussing that again at our next Board of Selectmen meeting. We're not meeting tonight because there's a town meeting, so we'll meet again on November 7th. So that's why you didn't see this item on the town meeting for tonight, because I have real concerns. Again, I support that, and I think I said that here, but the conversation of the working, the performance of our residents could be a detrimental conversation at town meeting, and I wouldn't want it to go that way. I wouldn't want to put our staff in that position. So I did reach out to Chief Moore to share with him what direction we were looking at, and that I thought I could do something much less than the 32,000, but still something significant, and that include the school staff as well. So between Phil and I doing something and utilizing that money and come back and ask this commission to consider kind of repurposing that request. So he, Alex could not make a decision for his department, but that they were going to be having meetings. And so, you know, we're kind of trying to move along the same lines and see what we can do. And even with some of that funding on his part, whether I suggested that maybe it was something that we could do encompassing all firefighters, and that included volunteers as well. So we are trying to reimagine this to make sure that the purpose of it is honored. So we will get back to you.
Okay. And then that brings us to D, projects to close, which we have one on our list already, which is ARPA 37, which is the skid steer, which is a very easy expense report to review because there's one expenditure and it's for the skid steer. So I enclosed that with what I sent out to you guys with the report. And so I don't think there's much to look at there, and I think all that's needed is for someone to make a motion to formally close this and have the $717 be returned to.
I'll make a motion to close ARPA 37 and return $717 to Fund 19.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion about that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? All right, so ARPA 37 is closed. And
We just
then,
made $700.
yeah, $717.
That's one way to look at it.
To go towards other projects.
Then we had added to our agenda earlier, another potential project to close, which is, what is the number?
ARPA 7.
ARPA 7, which is the air conditioning unit at the school. I know, you know, we've said, ideally, we want to have the information ahead of time to look at before we close the project, just make sure that all the expenditures, but I know this one's been on here for a long time, and it's pretty simple, right? Donna, there's not very many expenditures. There's like two, right?
I'm only seeing one. I'm not seeing the second expenditure.
Oh,
So,
so the one you had sent me one the other day, but I didn't think it was, wasn't the total supposed to be around 11,000?
yes,
And that's what that is?
no, all I see is the 2,500 to Pat Note Electric.
Oh,
The second one was for Woodcock to do put the unit in. And Phil just said it's been paid, but when I don't see that on the Fund 19 report, I don't know from which account it was paid.
oh, okay, so then we probably can't close it.
I was saying you
Yeah.
cannot close it
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
we have the report.
Yeah,
And my
okay.
intent on putting it in there was if we could do it, let's go ahead and do
Let's
it.
go
If we
ahead and
can't,
do
let's
it.
talk about what we need to
Okay,
do it next time.
all right, so it sounds like it was paid for, but potentially out of a different account, if it's not showing up on your report.
Right, it's not showing up on
Okay, so maybe for
I'm gonna
next
track it
time,
down.
yeah, figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if that 11,000 number is the one, it's not what Donna's report says, but that's what you believe it to be, right around there. Christina,
Yeah,
correct?
that's what we were told like a while ago.
Okay, so we're
Yeah.
looking at returning around just over 8,000.
Yeah, yeah, which is great. It's good, nice job. All right, so thank you. That brings us to item E, possible action, but I don't think we have any. Which brings us to item number 8, present to speak. And I don't see anyone here online.
There's a couple of people online.
Oh, there is people online. Oh, I don't see them.
Should be able to
Okay.
unmute themselves. if they're not.
Okay, if anyone online is present to speak, can you raise your virtual hand? Or unmute yourself and just say something? All right. Well, I don't think that they're here for that, so, with that, I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, and all in favor?
Aye. Oh, there's a second.
Oh, yeah, was there a second?
Second.
Okay, great. All right, so our next meeting is November 7th, 1:30.
Good.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Good job.
Oh. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Let's see.
I read through everything.
Excellent. Yeah, most of it just been, because they've had a long time ago. to keep for it.
Yeah, she and I had thought for a while that it was done.
Yeah, so they just, it must have like.
No, the meeting's Thursday.
It's legal, which means that they're gonna get some. money
I
back.
told him.
They use their regular budget.
Except now.
Well, I'm
we're
gonna-
talking about
yeah,
I was just saying.
I told him.
Yeah.
Chris
How are
said
you?
it could be or something.
Good, good to
Somebody-
see you.
All right.
No, I have to leave at 6:30. I told him that Chris would say that.
Potentially $1,450. So a decent amount. I just get an email too, I just got today from, I was gonna ask Mike about this.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, no, that's right.
Uh,
that-
Listen,
Julie Engel.
Well, I know, but I
Yeah.
send him stuff, I actually.
She said she received a phone call from an ABC member stating the funds in the library request for funding as a nonprofit with a revenue loss during COVID was denied, as the library will be receiving funds.